everybody, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 7 of History's Greatest Idiots, the show where we go back through all of human history and bring you stories of absolute, colossal, ridiculous stupidity, and hopefully give you lessons that you can learn from other people's mistakes and never repeat them again. But who are we kidding? We're humans. We like mistakes, and sometimes they make for entertaining viewing. One of them that we're covering tonight is still very much ongoing. So I'm going to start this podcast by using the word alleged. Everything you hear in this podcast is alleged as of the time of recording, based on other people's research, nothing to do with us. Very well researched, I have to point out, but other people's research, and also ongoing court cases. So it's all alleged. However, joining me as ever is my amazing friend and co-host, Derek. Derek, how are you doing, my man?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. How's your week been? Yeah. We'll get to me in a second. I've got my shit going on, but tell us about your normal stuff before we get to my crazy stuff.
Been good, man. Just enjoying the ride here.
Nice.
We had some weather, like rain and stuff in the desert, and that was fantastic. It seems like it's been forever. So I got to cozy up and cuddle with the wife. It was great.
Oh yeah, I do like that. We see, the thing is, we've had that recently around here. We had like a patch of like 3 or 4 days where it was like quite warm, and everyone just everyone in the UK just immediately lay down on the grass, like, oh my god, the sun's back. Oh god, give me all of the vitamins. And everyone kind of did that for like 2-3 days. It was like 15 degrees Celsius, which is like 60 degrees Fahrenheit or something crazy like that.
Wow.
It was warm. So
I would have still had a jacket.
Yeah, there are people in like parts of Europe who would still be wearing 3 layers, but we're like, no, fucking as much on my skin as possible. Melanoma be damned. So and then it went cold again, and I've been so unwell recently on and off that it hasn't really mattered what the weather's been doing. Like, I've just been wrapped up warm because I've been feeling the cold because I've been so unwell.
Yeah.
But the weather was so good the other day. We took the dog out for a walk, and I've been so unwell. I haven't been like outside in a week or something. Ooh. Yeah, and like I was out with my wife and we were just walking the dog around this like National Trust place, and I was like, I'm so happy to be outside. It was so pathetic. But in the meantime, you know, while I've been ill, I've been making memes. And we should talk about where you can see those memes. So if you want to follow our very successful memes, we've now hit over well over 700,000 views for the memes that I've created in the last like 3 months.
Wow.
You can find that on Instagram. Go to History's Greatest Idiots, and we've had a bunch of feedback there. And also, if you want to support us financially, you can go to patreon.com/History's Greatest Idiots and throw us a bit of money along with our wonderful patrons such as Jesse Christ, Kimberly Johnson, Andrew Zavara, Dilly Bob, Silent Crisis, Carrion, Suzanne, and the wonderful Toasterzoid, and they are all supporting us financially. They've also all got access to behind-the-scenes stuff like exclusive Patreon recordings, all of our scripts, a bunch of like historical visits when we go on our little journeys around the place, and behind-the-scenes stuff from our lives. So when me and Derek go different places, we put pictures and videos up on there. Also exclusive gifts when you join, and annual gifts when you stay with us for a year, 2 years, 3 years. We create specific things. It's really cool. Handmade and printed and laminated a lot of the time as well. Derek laminates it on really good paper, and it looks amazing. It's a special thing that you won't get anywhere else, and it's a fake degree that you can use to get into fake jobs that earn you real money. So we encourage that. But I was making a meme. And a lot of the time, like, I put thought into it, but I'm just like, what's happening? Oh yeah, that'll do. And then I'll write a joke about it. And then I'll just like put it on some sort of fake background and stuff. And they'll do like a couple of thousand views here, maybe 4,000. I did one the other day that got like 4,000 views. I was like really happy about that. And then of course, Elon was doing Elon stuff. And I was like, I'll make an Elon meme and see how that does. It's the first time I think I've kind of done a sort of Elon thing, but it didn't really do anything. But I did a meme I did a meme. I made a meme of it was just a picture of Elon on a fake Fox News background, which I need to change, and it just said Elon Musk devastated to find out he can't father his 15th child by fucking the economy, and I put that up without thinking about it. And within 24 hours, it had 30,000 views and a bunch of likes, but it had as many likes as it had nearly as many comments from Elon Musk fans. I've heard people say that Elon Musk has fans and that they're kind of obsessive and weird. And also, like, you know, there's the joke, oh my God, you're simping for a fucking billionaire. What's wrong with you? I was just like, they must be exaggerating. It can't be that bad. Even on Instagram, there are thousands of people that will leave comments on a completely innocuous meme supporting this guy. And they're the majority of them. I mean, they're all men for a start. No surprise there. But all of them are private accounts. So immediately they're cowards. But also they're all older guys.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised, like older than us. So like in their 50s sort of thing. The amount of hair plugs I saw on their profile pictures was shocking. But like, I was surprised at how many of these men are so invested in like the strong man narrative that like, oh, owning the libs, oh, the lefties don't like this, that they're actually now, they've moved so far into that world that they're supporting a billionaire. There's something weird about being, I understand being a fan of someone, but it's usually someone in the artistic sphere or someone that you admire who's maybe done something. But like Elon Musk, he's a businessman who is failing. There's nothing to admire there.
Right.
Really. And who's a fan of a businessman? Like, who's ever grown up having posters of like fucking, I don't know, George Soros or Mark Cuban on their wall or something like that? Someone from the fucking Dragon's Den or the whatever it is, the Shark Tank.
Yeah, I don't know. He got that fan thing. I don't know where he got that. I don't know how it happened. Like the 4chan came to real world is what happened somehow.
Yeah. It's such a weird transition, and I wonder how far down that like hyper new misogynistic masculinity alpha male alt-right funnel that Elon Musk is, because like I wonder what the entry point is. Is it Andrew Tate, or is it like is it Trump? Is it, you know, Andrew Tate? Is it that crazy Canadian professor? What's his fucking name?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, or is it like we've covered
so many different entry points to the onion, I think.
Yeah,
and there's you go in so many different layers, and you don't realize that you're even doing it. I don't think.
I think so. I think a lot of them do it unconsciously, but I don't understand. Like, I'll make a meme, and it's very innocuous, and they will immediately jump all over it because it's like trending and stuff, and they'll just leave a bunch of comments. And the only response I could think of, because I had to turn the comments off because they were getting really hateful, like not only like abusive towards us, but also like just they like start ranting about like foreigners, fucking all of the usual targets that you know people go for. But the main response, I was like, oh, Elon's doing great things. He's rooting out inefficiency and corruption. Like, he can't hear you. Why are you leaving this comment? You're only literally going to start an argument with someone that you've never met before. So immediately, I was like, after about 5 hours of that, I'd shut down the comments because I was like, and also another suspicious thing for me was, you know, if someone was really invested in like, oh, I'm an Elon fan, this person's taking the piss out of Elon, and now he's turned off the comments, and for some reason that's seen as like a bad thing. Like, you turn off comments on your own account. Like, yeah, it's my account. I don't want to see your shit anymore. But like, if they were that invested in it, they'd have gone on to like another post, like a previous post or a post after that, and be like, oh, you turned off the comments on the Elon thing. You're such a coward. None of them did that.
Yeah, it's because they're bots.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, a lot of these are bots. And it makes me think, who is so sensitive that they have bots defending Elon Musk on a platform that he doesn't own? That's really weird to me. So anyway, just a kind of a little dive into the world of insane internet that we've kind of insulated ourselves from a little bit to a certain extent these days. It's a side effect of whenever I post memes. There's always going to be, there'll be that one person who's like, oh, lefty or whatever.
The weird question I have, right, is if, somebody posted a Soros meme.
I know, I wouldn't give a shit. I don't care. I don't even know about George Soros.
Would it be full of people losing their minds about it? I mean, most likely if somebody posted a Soros meme, it would end up like some wild anti-Semitic crazy conspiracy theory thing. It wouldn't just be some joke about him not fathering his 15th kid.
Yeah. Or like, he invests in NPR.
And
something like,
you know what's funny is like the Soroses didn't ever get directly involved in the government and start fucking shutting funding down for anything.
So, and yet that's what people were thinking, like, oh, George Soros is part of the deep state. He's controlling this, which is again like an anti-Semitic meme. But now you actually have a billionaire doing that, and everyone seems, these people that were against it seem totally fine with it. But yeah, it is weird because, in a completely unrelated thing, I saw a statistic about the difference between fascists and anti-fascists. So when fascism rises in an area, usually anti-fascist movements, maybe communism, maybe another thing, maybe Green Party people, a bunch of people unite to fight the fascism. Now, what generally tends to happen is when the fascism disappears, so does the opposition to it. In fact, it's not even disappearing. It's like if they're not marching, then generally the anti-fascist movements disappear because they don't care what you do in the privacy of your home. They're not trying to get you to like actively change your mind. And what they will do is if people are marching and if it's friends of theirs, they'll actively try and help to de-radicalize them. But if fascists aren't marching in the street or aren't like attacking people, then generally people leave them alone. They're like, if you want to be right wing, you want to be kind of a bit crazy, that's fine. People will let you be kind of crazy and be right wing. If fascists take hold in a place and you are part of a minority group, or you are part of a group of people who are not mainstream, the only way that fascists will get off your back is if you don't exist or if you don't live there anymore. They will not stop until you're done.
Right.
So turn off the comments. It is the answer. And then they're not part of the thing. Anyway, moving away from memes that anger Elon Musk fans / bots, we've got a really interesting one for you today. And again, it's a little bit lighter because as we've just seen from the microcosm of a little meme that got a little bit of traction, the world's kind of crazy at the moment and we need a little bit of light relief.
Yes,
right?
We do. Because help me understand the world some more. Bring me some humor and funny.
Let's do some humor and funny. And this is funny. It's also kind of sad because...
well, that's good too, I guess.
Well, yeah, but it's sad in a kind of a... Maybe some people lost their money, but actually I doubt it. But anyway, it's kind of a crazy story more than anything. And again, this is all ongoing. This is all alleged. And it's alleged because I have to give a big shout out to the most of the information I'll be covering comes from a great free article, I should point out, on this subject, written by Matt Slater for The Athletic, of all places. It's a financial story, but it's in The Athletic. So, yeah, I was caught off guard by that, but it's a great article. The article is titled, "Under Every Rock We Found a Lie." So that gives you some indication of what we're dealing with here. Let me tell you the story of Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi. Very easy name to remember.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi, the millionaire who wasn't, the billionaire who wasn't underrepresented his
Was that
bullshit.
Really his name?
Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi, yes. It might be Mmobuosi. It's Mmobuosi. So it might be Mmobuosi. But Dozy, yeah, Dozy is his first name. Dozy Mmobuosi. Yeah. Easy to remember. And like, as far as SEO performance and stuff like that goes, Dozy Mmobuosi, like that's going to be there's going to be a bunch of Google searches about this guy over the next few years because it's one of the most hilarious like financial scandals of the last 20 years.
Well, it's super fun to say.
It is. Dozy Mmobuosi. Easy to remember. It's not complicated at all. Anyway, I'm going to start from this article. In the 1990 gangster classic Goodfellas, the protagonist Henry Hill goes for the ultimate flex on his first date with future wife Karen by leading her through the kitchen of the coolest club in New York, skipping a queue outside to a front row table that has just been laid for them. It's a scene that encapsulates the movie. Henry Hill and his friends don't wait in line, and it ends with a question that underlines the point. What do you do? Asks Karen. And I think his response is, I'm in construction. Or I'm in trade unionism, or I'm part of a union or something like that.
Yeah, gosh, I don't remember.
I remember the scene though, because like
Yes.
it's a one shot. So they track them from the outside of the club all the way through the kitchen, all the way onto the floor, and like there's no cut. It's not like a Hitchcock thing where they'll have a guy wearing a black shirt just walking in front of the camera lens. No, there's no cuts at all. It's a one shot. They go straight to the stage, and it like the camera pans around, it moves around. I'm like, oh, Scorsese, you are a fucking genius. But also, yeah, by the way, if you haven't seen Goodfellas, go out of your way to see this film. It's one of the best movies ever made, and it's like endlessly rewatchable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, like, I feel like I've watched that film like every year for the last 20 years, at least once. It's a great film, and also like it's controversial because they do terrible things in this film, but they make it look fun.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah,
they live a good life, and then it all goes to shit. Similarly to this guy, it's a question I asked Dr. Dozy. That and the cocaine not so good, and the kind of the prison meatballs, although they look fucking delicious.
It
did. Oh my god, the garlic with the kind of the razor blade.
So thin.
God, that looks so fucking
dissolved
good.
in the oil.
Oh, it's so good. And how many onions are you putting in? But the 3 onions, the 3 small onions. That's too many onions. It's a question I asked Dozy Mmobuosi last year after I had been led through the basement of the Dorchester Hotel to sit across from him at the chef's table, the best seat in the house, a private dining room separated from the kitchen by a glass wall that can be transparent so you can watch your meal being made, or opaque so that nobody can see who you've invited. Okay. So it's just silhouettes if you want, so you can control the level of exposure you have to the surrounding restaurant. That's the Dorchester for you. It's one of the best hotels in London, very expensive. I've actually stayed in the Dorchester. It was for work about 20 years ago when I worked for a big media company. It's super elegant and really, really fancy, but I never felt comfortable there because it's one of these places where like you have to dress like business casual for dinner, and like you have to shave and shit like that to attend dinner. Like you can't have a beard and stuff. It's one of them places. I prefer hotels where you can like slouch and relax and just unwind and be yourself. Yeah. I don't mind paying extra for that shit, but you can't relax in the Dorchester. It's very fancy and formal.
Yeah, so, no, I don't go to places like that.
No. I mean, I don't mind dropping in and being like, oh, look at the fanciness. Look at all the fancy things happening. But like, I don't want to stay there.
Well, yeah, no, I would go check it out. I'd love to see it, but I don't think I'd be welcome.
Yeah, well, I feel like maybe they've also, because Premier League football is dressed like such fucking scruffs these days, I feel like the bar's been a bit lowered, I hope. Also because a lot of billionaires, Silicon Valley has filtered through into the wider ecosystem of the world. A lot of billionaires just wear like very expensive t-shirts. So you gotta stop asking people to wear like fucking cuffs and collars to come into your restaurant these days, because nobody wears a tuxedo anymore. So yeah, the days of glory are gone. People dressing up to have fucking scones and shit like that. Anyway, the article goes on to say, I had been summoned to London's Mayfair for a clear the air meeting with the 45-year-old after his bid for Sheffield United Football Club, then of the Championship, now in the Premier League. They're back in the Championship again, unfortunately, after this article was published. For context about Sheffield United, this 45-year-old had put in a bid for this football club in the UK. So I'm going to give you a little bit of context about Sheffield United Football Club. They're one of the oldest clubs in the world. I think it's 1866. I didn't actually look this part up. They were founded as a professional club. One of the oldest professional clubs in the world. They are not what you would consider a fashionable football team or like a big name football team. So, people can usually name like Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, etc. They're not like in that tier. I finally caught a live. Called Mara. Yes. Thank you for joining us. You caught a live. You did. So Sheffield United, not like a fashionable team at all. They've got a lot of history, though. Sheffield itself is a working class Yorkshire city in the north of England, known specifically for producing some of the best steel in the world. It had a big steel works there for a while. It had a lot of tough times, though. Guess who decimated that industry?
Wouldn't be Thatcher, would it?
Thatcher, yeah. Thanks, Maggie. She came into power, and the town was kind of destroyed because all of the jobs moved abroad and everything was sold off, and it became Sheffield as a city, though, is interesting. It has been modernized and it has rebounded. There's a lot of good service industry stuff there now, and it does okay. But the club itself is also a bit like the city. I call it a town. It's a city. Has flip-flopped between promotion to the top division and relegation out of the top division again. It's very rarely stuck around for more than like 2 or 3 seasons. I know relegation is not a clear concept for most Americans in sports, but you finish in the bottom 3 of the Premier League, you go down a division.
Which is like the minor leagues for like baseball?
Yeah, like AAA.
Okay.
So you go down like a stage. You get relegated to the next league down, and the pyramid is massive. But there are 4 professional leagues in the pyramid, and then below that you've got like semi-pro, amateur,
right,
fucking pub level football. So
I wish we did that.
I mean, you do have a very effective
sports.
Yeah, I think relegation and promotion, in many ways, adds a lot more drama to and a lot more stakes, because like you fight for every game. You don't just like, oh, we're not going to make it the playoffs, we'll just fucking write off the rest of the season. You don't have that effect. Like, you have to fight for every fucking point, because like the higher up the table you finish, the more money you get, but also you can get the top 6 or 7 places get European qualification. So it's like an extra 50 million and 150 million a year if you finish in those places, potentially through revenue. But also if you get relegated, like you lose 100 million pounds through relegation in money that you get from Premier League payments. So it's a lot of money you lose. Yeah, you get parachute payments when you get relegated. If teams go out, they get like, I think it's 30 million a year for the first year, and then like 25 million, and then like 10 million for the third year, and then they're cut off if they haven't come back up. So they get parachute payments, but it's a big chunk. So relegation is a huge deal in the English Premier League, and Sheffield United are one of these clubs that not quite good enough for the Premier League, too good for the Championship, so they keep going up and down quite regularly. I think they've been promoted and relegated like 5 times over the last like 15 years or something.
Man, that seems like it would be a pain in the ass to keep track of the money.
Oh yeah, and not just that. The fans, the roller coaster for the fans, like the devastation of being relegated, and like that. Yeah, after like maybe a season after you've been promoted as well, you're just like, oh, again with this shit, But they don't. As a result, they don't really have the financial stability or standing of your Manchester Uniteds, your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, your Man Cities and stuff, who've got billionaire owners and have huge like turnovers of like, I think United's was like 900 million last year in turnover. It's crazy money, and as a result, they have to be very careful with their finances. They have a good stadium, I think a 35,000 all-seater. This is a big stadium, really, but they haven't got the money to build sustainable growth or success in the modern era. But they're tough and scrappy underdogs, and the fans are wonderful. People in Yorkshire are lovely, and they're super loyal. But they've been messed around with ownership, the Sheffield United folks, and we're about to hear more about that now with this bid. So on the 2nd of February 2023, The Times reported that a Nigerian technology billionaire, I don't know whether to just call him a tech billionaire, but was close to buying the Yorkshire club for £90 million, which would now have been 115 million. So, go on.
Was he doing it by email?
There is a connection to that. And you are going to be amazed at the connection. Because when you hear Nigerian tech billionaire, you think, oh, it's a different version of that old scam.
That's what I'm thinking.
Genuinely is a real life version of that scam. This dude is that scam. And the weird thing is, and we'll get to it later, his dad wrote the fucking book on that scam. Literally.
Oh,
yeah.
This is okay. Oh, wow.
And his first company was producing that book about that scam. And he went on to replicate the fucking scam. So let's get to it. The newspaper then named Dr. Dozy Mmobousi and said his company Tingo Mobile, you're going to be doing a lot of Googling of these people, had been valued at $7.6 billion. And the deal was subject to Mmobousi passing the EFL's owners and directors test. But so far, no problems had arisen. So in the UK, you can't just buy a club. You have to pass like a financial and good person test, basically. So they don't end up with like, you know, fucking Vlad the Impaler now owns Wickham Wanderers or something like that. Like, you can't have murdered people. You have to have a certain amount of liquidity that you can prove, and it can't have come from like the mafia or like illegal means and stuff like that. Okay. It's, I've got to be honest, the tests aren't that great because like one of the previous owners, well, the previous owner of Chelsea Football Club was, I can't remember his name, but he was Russian and he was like Vladimir Putin's right-hand dude. So, well, and he was there for a long time. Roman Abramovich, that was his name. Anyway, quick introduction, I should say, to Dr. Dozy Mmobousi. He was born in Lagos, Nigeria. He claims he received a Bachelor of Science degree in political science from Ambrose Ali University in Akpoma, Edo State, which is part of Nigeria. He also claims he received his Master's of Science degree in economics from the same university. He also claims he received a doctorate degree in rural development from the University of Putra in Malaysia in 2007, although Hindenburg Research, and it's a cool name, you'll see why they're called that, we'll come back to them later, a short-selling activist group, was not able to verify any of his degrees in their 2023 report, and we'll come back to that later. Okay. In March 2022, Mmobousi completed the Advanced Management and Leadership Program at Said Business School, University of Oxford. That seems to be true. So, but I don't know. Listen, people can buy degrees. And even if you go to a legitimate university, you can just pay someone to write that shit for you. How are they going to know?
I mean, I feel like it's pretty evident from working in life. Yeah. There's a lot of people with degrees that I don't believe learned a damn thing.
Absolutely.
I got one.
Yeah, I got two, and I can't remember half of that shit. Yeah. So... I did all that work myself, and I had people copy off me, and I know a bunch of people who paid other people to write their shit for them. So
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a common thing, and it's harder to get away with now because you can compare writing styles to previous work and AI and stuff like that, but it still happens. Let's not kid ourselves. So prior to, the story about a Nigerian tech billionaire buying Sheffield United was followed up by several British and international outlets who noted that Mmobousi had just graced the cover of GQ Africa and launched the Dozy Mmobousi Foundation at a ball at the Dorchester itself. Prior to this, in December 2022, Mmobousi unveiled the Dozy Mmobousi Leadership Centre, the DMLC, housed in Oxford, the UK, with the aim of developing African leaders' skills to help them transform their private and public sector services. All sounds super philanthropic and very noble so far from a African tech billionaire from Nigeria. Sounds great so far. However,
I'm trusting all of this.
I am too, and that's the problem. Within 48 hours, dozens of stories had been published with new pieces of information and photographs lifted from Mmobuosi's own social media accounts and Tingo's website. There were snaps of Mmobousi looking like dashing by a fireplace, one with his arm around British heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua, several of him in black tie with the Nigerian presidential candidate Peter Obi, and the Senegalese American rapper / businessman Akon. Akon. Locked up, they won't let me out. I'm tiny. I'm only 5'1", and and one in more casual attire at his desk in front of a laptop, doing all business things and such. According to the clippings, as well as owning Tingo Mobile, he had just launched an online marketplace called Tingo Foods, was building Nigeria's largest food processing plant, and had opened a business school and started a mobile cancer screening service in Nigeria. Again, all sounds promising if he's doing all these things, which we would hope he's doing them. Yeah, really good. Oh, and he was expanding into Ghana, Malawi, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. I wonder why he's expanding there. It's not a tax thing. The Sheffield United takeover was imminent, and his personal fortune, according to GQ Africa, was north of £5 billion, or at the time, $7.5 billion. $7.6 billion. Good old, not Bill Gates / Elon Musk money, but still, that's nothing to sneeze at. I'll take 7.6 billion, thanks.
Yeah, billion
with a B. Never have to worry about anything ever again kind of money.
Yeah, if you actually had $1 billion and you screwed that up and ever had to actually work again.
If you're working on the sandwich vans after having $1 billion, then I don't think you're good to be selling sandwiches, really. I think you need to call it a day. To be honest with you, give me £1 million, I will disappear and I will live the most comfortable life until the day I die. That's all I need.
I think I could have $1 billion, live out the rest of my life the same way I am currently doing, giving away money every day without ever working the rest of my life.
I know.
And still not run out of money.
It's almost like money's the problem, really, isn't it? Anyway, so let me give you a bit of background about Tingo. Tingo as a company has a reasonably straightforward history. In 2001, Dozy Mmobousi launched Fair Deal Concepts Limited, which very quickly rebranded to Tingo Mobile PLC Nigeria, an agri-fintech company which provided mobile telephones and financial services for users in the agricultural sector who were otherwise cut off from large suppliers due to distance or a lack of connectivity. So farmers in rural parts of Nigeria who didn't have access to technology, maybe didn't have the means to purchase technology, maybe they were disconnected, maybe they were nowhere away, they were too far away from major economic hubs or cities, and they were struggling and they were being left behind. So he was catering to these people by providing them with a mobile phone that had access to banking, but also resources so that they could keep up to date with changes in agriculture and news and stuff like that. It's a really good idea. Mm-hmm. And in 2002, Mmobousi launched Nigeria's first SMS banking system. So you can text banking stuff. So again, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have basic mobile phone coverage, you can still do banking. So it's a great system, especially in a country that maybe back in 2002 didn't have the greatest internet infrastructure. So you would have to travel for God knows how long to get to a bank.
So, okay, he's bringing the smartphones and mobile phones and banking and stuff to these rural and agricultural areas. He's just bringing the hardware, or is he bringing out the infrastructure to give them coverage and shit?
Well, I think it was just the hardware initially. So he's producing these quite standard, indestructible, cheap Nokia style phones, the old 3600s or whatever they were called, that type of phone with like a few very basic apps for finance and also the weather. because obviously farmers need to have accurate weather forecasting, which is really good. And like links to articles and news and stuff like that. This is what he's saying he's creating in Nigeria. In 2013, 2 mobile phone assembly facilities were set up in Nigeria by Tingo Mobile. They also claim these facilities have produced and distributed over 20 million mobile devices. Million. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. What are they doing with them?
I know, like, and also Nigeria has a big population. I'm not so sure that there are 20 million rural farmers in 2013 or between 2002 and 2013 who needed this product. I don't know if that number is an accurate number. It's a lot.
Are there, trying to think of, like, are there 20 million farmers in rural Nigeria
at all?
All
yeah, I wouldn't know, but it sounds like a lot. I mean, Nigeria has quite a big population. I think it's between like 90 million and 130 million. It's a lot. And it's, I think, either one of, if not the fastest growing economy in Africa. How many people live in Nigeria?
227.9 million.
Oh, I was way off. Holy shit.
Yeah,
a lot of people, all, 2/3 of the United States, effectively. And it's a big country. It's got a big petrochemical industry there as well. A lot of oil, a lot of gas. But it's a very big developing nation. There's a lot of infrastructure that's being built there by China. And it's an interesting country. The capital is growing really fast. A lot of people live there. But 20 million farmers between 2002 and 2013. I mean, it's feasible if you do year-on-year compounding, and maybe there were a few other phones that went to other places. But it's a big, bold claim, and that's the kind of thing that you need to be able to back up with hard numbers. Yeah.
I mean, going off of the numbers that I went with real quick here.
Yeah.
If what I'm getting is correct, 70% of the population of Nigeria is in the agricultural rural bounds.
There you go.
Which puts that right at 159.5 million people. So he's servicing that's okay. The numbers are real.
Totally get that. That seems that seems feasible. Let's roll that back, and maybe he did those numbers. That's totally achievable, and hopefully he's got
the numbers sound real.
They sound plausible, and I'm sure that's all business people need to invest. However, in October 2018, Tingo International announced that it had shut down its 2 handset manufacturing plants in Nigeria and relocated to China. Classy move, taking jobs away from locals. Also, in January 2020, Mmobousi created Delaware-based Tingo International Holdings, TIH, as Tingo Mobile's US holding company, and undertook a share exchange effective February 2020, through which TIH became Tingo Mobile's sole shareholder. So he wants to float his company on the US exchange. I don't know why he wants to do that. In early 2020, the company unveiled Reno Omakri as its brand ambassador. Good Luck Jonathan, real person, former president of Nigeria, Good Luck Jonathan, and Olusegun Olatoyin Aganga, former Nigerian Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment, were on the board of Tingo as of June 2020. So big hitters in Nigeria, former president, former Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment. So it's a powerful looking board.
How do you get on a board?
You just become famous or important, and people offer you these things. I'm not kidding. Like that's how it. I mean, you can start at the smaller scale. Like there will be local charities that you can become a board member of, or a trustee, or whatever it is. But if you want to get on like a major board, you have to have a name or something that they can use to leverage. Like, oh, this looks good having this person on my board because they have this credibility, or they're a doctor, or they're a professor, or they're a former president, whatever it might be.
Do you think some of these heavy hitters are on boards that they aren't really sure that they're even on or know that they're on, that they
It's just like, yeah, shove it, put me on there. I'll show up to one meeting a year. And you can pay for my expenses getting there, and just put on a nice spread, a bunch of sandwiches, some quiche. I will be there. So that's the deal. You feed me, I'll vote on a few things, and I'll disappear for a year. But I'm on your board, so I can put it on my LinkedIn profile.
Just after watching that documentary with Theranos and stuff, it's like,
yes,
if you pitch them a good idea and they're interested in your idea,
yeah,
like something that doesn't even exist, you can get anybody to sign up to be on your board.
Exactly. If you do it, and if you're charismatic and you have the right connections, some people, that's all it takes to get them on the board, including like former treasury secretaries and random shit like that. Like, that's
and once
crazy.
You have them on the board, all of a sudden,
yeah, you become really credible, and investors look at you very differently. So it's really weird. So be very careful of what boards people sit on. Anyway, in August 2021, Tingo Mobile PLC became a public company when acquired by iWeb Inc. In an all-stock deal worth $3.7 billion. The merged company was named Tingo Inc., and Mmobousi was appointed CEO. In September 2021, MELD, all capital letters, MELD, announced a three-way partnership, with Tingo International Holdings and Utuntu Tribe, an ethical firm which tokenizes natural resources. It's like one of those stupid things that's not real. Anyway, NFT type things. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's tied to real stuff, but it's not real, So buy those by all means. Mmobousi was so confident of taking over at Sheffield United Football Club that he had told reporters that he had already paid a non-refundable deposit of almost £10 million to the club's Saudi owner, Prince Abdullah. Who owned the club entirely. For a club that had been struggling to pay basic bills and transfer installments, Mmobousi's millions were a lifeline. 4 days after the Time Scoop, The Athletic reported that Tingo Airlines, it's the start now. This is where it gets fucking weird very quickly.
Wait, he made an airlines?
Google Tingo Airlines and look at the pictures. Oh my God.
I feel like wasn't there another dude that made an airlines for like no reason?
Yeah. A bunch of people have done that. I mean, Richard Branson basically did it, but
yeah, well, and then he was like, I'm gonna go to space.
Yeah, and his hot air balloon and stuff. So Tingo Airlines is, look at those pictures. 4 days after the Time Scoop, The Athletic reported that Tingo Airlines, Mmobousi's aviation business, had not gotten off the ground, lol. This was despite him claiming you could fly with Tingo Airlines today from London to Nigeria in November 2020. And the UK registered company had £1 billion in share capital. Further examination of these claims revealed that the company's business address, a rented flat near Luton, had been removed from the website of Companies House, the UK's registrar of companies, because it was invalid or ineffective and was forged. It's just flat out forgery. Furthermore, Tingo Airlines was facing an active proposal to be struck off because it was late with basic paperwork. There was also no evidence that Tingo had had the UK Air Operator's Certificate, or it had been in the process of obtaining any aircraft. The pictures of the planes on the company's website, which was riddled with missing links, were photoshopped versions of stock pictures of an Airbus A321. Whoever added the Tingo livery also added some extra windows and removed a door from the image.
Oops.
Look, if any of you are watching this now, go and watch the video thing. Derek has pulled up the stock photo and the pictures. I mean, that's unfair. They clearly didn't use Photoshop. That's being generous. That's Microsoft Paint level forgery right there. That's not Photoshop. The uncanny valley effect you get with the Tingo Airlines planes, like there's no fucking door on the plane.
it's it's
Oh,
my
there's
goodness.
one. Sorry, there's one. Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But look at the windows. There's like gaps,
Oh my goodness.
and
Look
one
at
of them's a bit lower.
there's a big wave in the wing.
Yeah, it's like when you go on someone's
Grief.
picture and they've like photoshopped in curves so that they can look more appealing. It's like that. It's the girl that uses the filter, and it's not real, and you're like, oh, that's not fair. Anyway, so it's got very much the uncanny valley feature to it. Anyway, Mmobousi was spooked by this. Typically, he responded with a flurry of media activity, including long interviews with CNN and randomly former England and Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand on his YouTube channel 5. The confusion with the airline was the pandemic's fault. Apparently, that's COVID altered those images. The club,
I've heard it can do that.
It can. You go delirious enough, you see doors where there aren't doors.
I heard if you cough onto your phone, it will edit the images saved in there with the next Apple update.
I just turned a door into 3 windows that aren't lined up properly. Yeah. The club, meanwhile, continued to say absolutely nothing about Mmobousi or the takeover, which they thought had been the PR strategy agreed with his team. Some of his team were a bit confused by the media blitz too, but the game was afoot. Before meeting him at the Dorchester, I was warned Mmobousi was upset with the Athletics' coverage of his takeover attempt, so I should expect a frosty reception. Don't expect him to answer even like the most basic questions here, because he is not in the mood for your shit, is basically what he's been told. Okay. And that is what I got, but not from the self-styled tech billionaire wearing a baseball cap from the University of Oxford Said Business School. The frostiness came from the gentleman sitting next to him, a British football agent who tried to impress upon me the importance of getting the right side of this story. This part blew my mind. In not very subtle terms, I was warned our coverage of Mmobousi's attempt to become English football's first black owner might be perceived as racist. So don't do anything negative that's racist, is literally what this football agent has said, which is fucking pathetic. You can smell a rat immediately when someone's like, it's the literal case of playing the race card. I don't like using that term because most of the time people who say that don't want to examine what's actually going on in a situation, but that is exactly what's happening here. Like, don't do anything negative that would be racist.
Right.
No, actually, I tell this story to highlight some of the people Mmobousi fooled and why so many of them wanted to believe him. And that is why I am not naming the agent. He is embarrassed enough. So even the agent posthumously realized that they'd been conned by this guy. So,
really?
Yeah. Because the trail of unpaid bills and salaries Mmobousi has left behind in the UK will make it even harder for any legitimate African entrepreneur who follows him in trying to buy an English football club. He has judgments against him, and we'll get to those later. 7 weeks after our meeting, Mmobousi issued a statement to deny that his Sheffield United bid was failing. By then, it had already failed. So no, it's fine. Everything's fine. No, it's failed. No, it hasn't. It's still ongoing. It's that general of Iraq's army during the invasion is like, no. That's not a strike on the building that's collapsing. Look, Saddam didn't like that building. All right, we wanted to build like a water park there. That's why it's falling down on fire.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, that's fine. It's not. We're winning. Mmobousi did answer my question, taking nearly 2 hours to explain how his Tingo group of companies would harness the power of Nigerian farmers to conquer Wall Street. I hope he elaborated on that. No wonder it took 2 hours. He was going to feed the world.
Okay.
He was going to cure cancer and bring European football to Bramall Lane, which is the home of Sheffield United. That's feed the world, cure cancer, Sheffield United in European football.
Okay.
That's quite a tale you've got there, a yarn that you're spinning, Dr. Mmobousi.
That's some ambitious plans there he started off with.
It is. And feed the world, cure cancer. I mean, why not land on Mars while we're
One of
going
these
there?
things is not like the other.
Yeah. You can't. He's not even a good con man at this point. Like, the second someone says they're going to cure cancer, like, it's the death knell for their reputation. Because even if this is the most credible, trustworthy person in the world, if you don't cure cancer in a decade, no one will ever trust you again. And it's kind of like a parent saying, I'm going to cancel Christmas.
Yeah. Kinda. Well, yeah, I'm going to cure cancer. Go for it,
Sure,
dude.
buddy. Okay.
How long you been working on that?
Exactly, yeah. Do you know quite a lot about, have you been working in the field for your entire life? You're 45 years old. I assume you've been working in it for 20 years, right?
Like, I'm not going to I don't want to, crap on anybody that wants to try and do it. If you want to get started, go for it. Let's start introducing you. How many people are you talking to and working with that know what they're talking about?
Exactly. You know what? There are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are trying to cure cancer, and they have dedicated their lives maybe to a specific type of cancer, maybe to a specific line, maybe a specific approach to curing cancer. You know what none of them have ever done is call a press conference in the Dorchester Hotel and said, I am going to cure cancer, because that's the dumbest fucking thing you can do. You cannot make that promise. Only JFK in the history of humanity has been like, we choose to go to the moon because it's hard, and because we in this decade, because it is hard, and because it is the right thing to do. And like, people are like, fucking, are you insane? Sure enough, 7 years later, America's on the moon. They definitely were on the moon.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can shoot lasers off at the reflectors and stuff. So I mean,
exactly.
Unless those just I don't know. Anyway,
moon rock's really reflective. Yeah. But yeah, the only person in history to have been like, I am going to do this. We also had a guy recently who was like, I am going to find $500 billion worth of waste in government, and I'm going to eliminate it. And so far, he's found what? He's found like a pocket full of buttons and some like lint, sweet candy, and some lint, and maybe a couple of quarters and stuff.
I swear there was a guy said something about bringing down the cost of groceries and shit too on day one.
Yeah, is that the same guy that talked about the wall, that famous wall that he was going to put up?
Yeah, and a war, fucking day one too.
Greenland, Suez Canal. No, the other canal. That one. Yeah.
No, somebody stick a boat in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take over that canal. Yeah, he's going to block up the other one.
Stick a boat sideways in it.
That's my plan. Nuke it. In February, Mmobousi took a trip to the Highlands of Scotland with the British fashion designer Oswald Boateng to look at a whiskey distillery that was up for sale. They flew north on a private jet with Mmobousi's chef and PR team. I hope he's fucking surrounded by his PR team at this point. While a bouncer, his security team, drove one of Mmobousi's rented Rolls Royces up from London to the Highlands of Scotland. Just rent it closer, dude. There'll be a dealership in Newcastle. The fuck is wrong with you? Or Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. Don't drive up from London. The fuck, to meet them at the other end. So he's impressing this fashion designer with like private jet flights, whiskey distilleries, the Highlands of Scotland, and shit.
I looked up Oswald.
Yeah.
And God, that's a snazzy dressed man.
I would like to see pictures. I like seeing what fashion designers look like when they're kind of on their downtime, because they design these crazy ass clothes and you kind of expect them to be a little bit mad, but then you'd like to see, I want to see Ralph Lauren walking around a pair of like sweats, with like flip-flops and socks or something like that. But
I'll get it.
That's okay. Yeah. But anyway, so where is the money coming from all of this? The Times reported that Boateng said Mmobousi had an almost magical quality, and there is no question that Boateng is anything other than a person who is also enchanted by the Mmobousi mirage. And that's the thing with a lot of these alleged con men, is they are very charismatic. They're very convincing. They're very good at selling an idea, but they're not so great at following through. So this is, oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
shit.
That's a slick suit.
I want that suit, and I want that suit. Holy God. Oswald Boateng, man, he is a well-dressed dude. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want those clothes. God damn, they look good. They look comfortable as well, and I do not feel comfortable in suits. On that trip to Scotland, the group stopped off for a quick tour of Ardres Castle, the location for the hit BBC TV show The Traitors. Mmobousi had told the owners he was interested in buying the place because, of course, he fucking did. That's his shit. Oh, yeah, I like this. I'm going to buy this. Okay, buddy. It's a fucking castle. In his interview with Ferdinand, Mmobousi said his first conversation with an English club owner was with Crystal Palace's co-owner John Textor. That conversation, however, went no further than a visit to a game and a late-night drinking session with Textor's advisor and Mmobousi's bodyguard. So, like, not a real conversation. He got drunk with them.
Yeah, he's just drunk with the boys.
Yeah. I had a conversation about buying a club. Did you? Or were you talking about why you feel so good drinking tequila? You know, like, I just feel so warm and happy. Southampton were another club Mmobousi once expressed an interest in, while associates of his, most notably the British lawyer Chris Cleverly, the cousin of the UK's Home Secretary James Cleverly, were linked with West Ham United in 2021. None of those bids went anywhere. In fact, most of them never materialized. So he's just talking the talk at this point. I'm going to buy a football club. I'm a billionaire. Okay, buddy. All right. Starting conversations about investments has never been a problem for Mmobousi. Born in Lagos in 1978, his first business was selling secondhand clothes at school at the age of 13. According to media profiles written about him in Nigeria in 2020, he also sold general provisions at school and was nicknamed the General. Yeah, that's normal.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the General. Okay. After being homeschooled, so he didn't last in school very long, he claims he gained a bachelor's degree in political science. We've covered this already in economics, and there's no record of any of this. So he's not even a doctor, by the way. That's not even like an honorary title. He's just like, I'm doctor this. Okay, right. He doesn't even have an actual doctorate. His legend states that he became a promoter of beauty pageants and concerts across Nigeria between 1999 and 2002. And during this period, he and his father launched the company that would later bestride the globe, Tingo Mobile. And they said Tinkle Mobile. That's a different thing. Tingo Mobile. Originally known as Fair Deal Concept, its first product was his father's ebook about the 419 scam, perhaps the most infamous of the advanced fee scams that anyone with an email address will have encountered. Trivia fans and Nigerian princes might be interested to know that 419 is the section of the Nigerian criminal code which deals with fraud. So that's why it's called 419 scam, this ebook. So he started by selling a book about the Nigerian prince wants to give you some money if you just pay this and thing. That's where he started, and he turned into that scam. It's frightening, actually. Yeah. The circle line.
He read that book and was like, I've got an idea.
I'm going to stop selling secondhand clothes and just fake shit, basically.
Yeah.
Mmobousi,
he didn't exactly do the scam. I mean,
no.
More of a Anna Dolvey or whatever her name was.
Yeah. So far, from what we know, and there's more to come, it is Anna Delvey. It is very much like, I'm going to do this. I'm from this famous thing. I've got X number of money. Oh, I can't pay for this. Can you pay for that? Can you get the drinks, Mr. Owner of West Ham United Football Club? You know, like it's that sort of thing. You're living the high life, pretending to be something that you're not. But there's more to come. Mmobousi and Son then got into internet domain names, ringtones, and solar panels. So just everything. If you want a ringtone with that solar panel. By 2005, Mmobousi was in sole charge, and it seems there is no faddish item that Tingo could not at least try to sell. In 2013, he landed on the idea that he'd spent the last decade flogging phones for farmers. His story, and he's sticking to it, is that Tingo Mobile has been distributed to 30 million farmers now, and has more than 9 million customers who use Tingo devices with pre-installed Tingo apps for banking, checking the weather, and getting the best prices for their produce. Can you play Snake on those phones? Is all I want to know. That's the only thing that matters.
I mean, the ones that I'm looking up, they look like they would have that app on it.
Good.
Yeah.
And they're
like
the kind of things where you'd like text a code to a number and you get that ringtone. I mean, that
pays for ringtones anymore. Like,
apparently,
who uses ringtones anymore? Put that shit on silent. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. It may be vibrate, if you're bored, but I don't check my phone for it. That's just like kind of stress inducing, a ringtone. I hear that, I'm like, oh God, who's died? Like that's my immediate response. It's like nobody calls me anymore. Everyone like texts me or sends me something like that. So
yeah, what kind of ridiculous person is calling me on the telephone?
Oh my God, my dad wants to talk to me. Is he okay? Like it's that sort of thing. So the service has earned Tingo Mobile hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, apparently, although there was an unfortunate mix-up in 2017 when Mmobousi bought £60,000 worth of fuel for his device assembly facilities with checks that bounced.
Oops.
Oopsie, 60 grand? It's a little bit of less money than he's supposed to have.
I'm just okay. He's got device assembling facilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 2 factories in Nigeria at this point. Yeah,
got a lot of chip manufacturing companies there that or is he importing them?
I mean, maybe he is. Maybe it's a Breaking Bad situation. Maybe it's a giant fucking dry cleaning business, and there's a suspicious sized bunker underneath it. Who knows? Alleged. No, that's just a lie. I just made that up.
He was something there.
There's something going on. He was charged with 8 counts of fraud and appeared in court in Lagos in 2018. The result of the trial is unclear, with Mmobousi later claiming the dispute was settled by arbitration. I mean, just fucking pay them. I guess you can't at a certain point, but anyway. By 2019, having moved to the UK, Mmobousi wanted to share the myriad opportunities presented by Tingo with investors everywhere, which meant floating it on the world's most famous stock market for tech companies, New York's NASDAQ. Tom Winifrith, a business journalist turned share tipster, has ridiculed Tingo's numbers on his personal website and the shareprofits.com platform since September 2022. Winifrith said his acerbic pen was drawn to the obvious con by the colourful cast of characters connected to Tingo, men such as Leslie Grayling, the UK-based South African penny share investor who has twice been convicted of fraud and was deported from the US in the 1990s. This is the quote. Grayling is a walking red flag, but Tingo's financials did not stand up to even basic scrutiny, says Winifrith. They had a subsidiary claiming to have hundreds of millions in the bank, but borrowing from another, while one of their Nigerian food businesses had revenues that equated to 600% of the market share. That's not possible.
That's a lot of percent.
Yeah, that's a lot of dead people that are buying your food, apparently. So, yeah.
A lot of maybe people eating extra. Extra servings.
Maybe they're
6 servings.
Eat 6 servings per person in Nigeria. Man, no wonder they've grown fast. Insight X, a UK-based due diligence agency, had also highlighted numerous reputation risks in a detailed report it prepared for Mmobousi on Mmobousi for the English club he looked at before buying Sheffield United. Among its concerns were Mmobousi's links to the former Nigerian president Goodluck Jonathan, whose time in charge of the African state had been mired in corruption allegations. So his flirtation with English football, was it a stunt to create headlines about his business acumen and wealth? Or was it also to promote Tingo Mobile, which had just merged with a public company for the second time in just over a year? Or was it both of those things? It's not looking good. The most recent merger was an obscure tech company called MICT, all capitals. It had very little going on apart from a NASDAQ listing, which Mmobousi had been long pursuing for Tingo. So it had this one thing, nothing else going on. It's probably like a penny stock or really low. And he was just like, I need this listing. Yeah, that's all he cares about. Both mergers involved the creation of hundreds of millions of dollars of new shares Mmobousi and senior staff at the company in question acquired. Last month, Mmobousi was asked by the Nigerian website Vanguard if he regretted bidding for Sheffield United, because that was kind of the last straw in terms of him being anonymous with this stuff. He said he does not do regrets, but has more experience now, adding his only intention was to connect a city as disenfranchised as Sheffield and a company as disenfranchised as Tingo, and that his money helped the club pay its bills and get promoted. He just called his own company disenfranchised.
I mean,
I don't know if that's a good thing.
How is he planning on paying the bills and stuff if he doesn't have any of the money in the first place from the business that isn't?
Also, he said that he helped the club pay its bills and get promoted. He didn't pay or buy anything. He didn't own the club. He paid £10 million as a one-off holding fee, but that's a drop in the ocean when you're talking about getting promoted and paying bills.
At some point, he had $10 million, though.
True.
Which is more than I've ever had.
Well, it's true. And we'll not only will we learn how he got that, but also what happened to that money.
Okay.
After shit hit the fan. This story has not been told anywhere because it's not a sexy story. A black man rescued the club, he explained. It's not been told because it didn't happen. You never owned the club and you didn't rescue shit. So on Valentine's Day last year, the EFL issued a statement to say it had seen evidence of source and sufficiency of funds from Mmobousi, but it had not been. It had been awaiting a response for some time on a number of additional queries, which is a very polite way of saying we are worried. Please tell us what's going on here. Anyway, 4 days later, The Athletic reported what some of these queries were. 3 county court judgments against Mmobousi and his companies for nearly £40,000 in unpaid rent and bills. They just hadn't paid their bills, and that's tiny amounts of money right there, 40 grand. We also raised questions about the numbers Tingo was claiming in its filings for the US financial authorities. Mmobousi and a large team of advisors met with the EFL at its Preston headquarters in late March, but the league had heard and seen enough to know this takeover was over. And by May, the picture looked very different for the club and Tingo Group, the renamed MICT Tingo Mobile mashup. Sheffield United's financial problems had been cured by promotion, and Tingo Group's share price had cleared the $5 mark. So Sheffield United had been promoted, no longer had financial problems because they just earned 130 million, I think it is, for getting promoted to the Premier League. Like, your debts are wiped out at that point. Mm-hmm. So then the aforementioned Hindenburg report dropped, and everything changed forever. It is titled The Tingo Group, Fake Farmers, Phones and Financials, the Nigerian Empire That Isn't. That's a good start for this 72-page demolition job. So,
telling title.
Yeah, that's pretty clear about what you're about to read. The report started with the sentence that Hindenburg was shorting Tingo shares because we believe the company is an exceptionally obvious scam with completely fabricated financials. It went downhill from there. According to Hindenburg, Mmobousi had lied about inventing a payment app. He did not have a doctorate. Tingo's Foods claimed operating margin would make it the most efficient food business on the planet, and basically impossible. Mm-hmm. The food processing plant, Tingo said it was building, is actually an empty field. Its accounts were full of nonsensical numbers. No customers could be found in Nigeria's fields. So those 30 million farmers, 9 million devices, nobody has them. And their offices were empty. They sent people around to the offices and there was nobody there. They sent them around on multiple occasions. No one there. Just a P.O. box.
This was after he moved the manufacturing to China.
Yes.
So they didn't have to. Okay.
Yeah,
That made
exactly.
more sense though, because at least they have chips and manufacturing plants there.
Exactly. But no, they haven't produced any phones because
Right.
nobody has any of these phones.
Because there's nobody to give them to.
Yeah, it went on, raining punches on Tingo's head. Overall, we think Tingo is a worthless and brazen fraud that should serve as a humiliating embarrassment for all involved. It concluded, we do not expect the company will be long for this planet. Wow. Jesus. I kind of like these
Ouch.
people. They're kind of brutally honest.
That is a rough report, man.
It was. That's how you end your 72-page report. Tingo Group tried to hit back, pointing out that Hindenburg was a short seller and therefore had skin in the game, and dismissed the report as misleading and libelous. Well, in fairness, they are upfront about that. They are short sellers, so they are invested in making money from you failing. But if they've produced a 72-page report, you're going to have to produce a 144-page report, kind of dismissing their claims, I think, if you want to get away.
At least 85 pages.
I know.
Why they're wrong.
Exactly. Instead of a statement.
Evidence.
Yeah. Well, Tingo added that it had appointed the international law firm White and Case to conduct an independent investigation into the allegations made in the report. I really hope that company got paid up front. In August, Tingo issued what it believed was an explanation for Hindenburg's mistaken findings, but that just prompted another takedown by Hindenburg, and the share price tanked even further. When asked if it conducted Tingo's external review, White and Case said it did not and had never heard of Tingo Mobile. So that was a lie. Allegedly, that was a lie. When you have looked at as many frauds as we have, you can feel like you've seen it all before, says Hindenburg's founder, Nate Anderson. But usually the management of these companies will have told one or two lies about a particular deal or new product, and that's what muddies the waters. Tingo was different. They had fabricated an entire conglomerate. Under every rock we looked, we found a lie. I'd never seen that before. That's about as damning as it gets.
I think when you're doing it that way, you almost have like a shock and awe effect of like, this can't be. No,
it can't be all a lie. Surely there's like one or two lies. Surely, okay, we all know it's human. You twist this, you elaborate on that. That's just human nature. No, the whole thing was a fabrication.
And when it's that way, you start questioning, I must be researching wrong. I've got to have missed something.
This can't be the truth. Like, I can't be. I've got to have made a mistake. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm overworked. Right. And then you bring someone else in, and they're like, "Oh no, you are 100% right. Keep going," and then it's all a complete lie. However,
I feel like he could have refuted it by bringing out a phone with the app on it and like, hey,
just
look,
fucking bring out a phone and like, hey, look, I've got 10 of these things. Do you want one? I can give you one now. Go away, connect to the fucking local system and give it a go. And that's all you need. Reputation restored. If the processing plant, you can explain it where okay, we moved it to China, whatever, it's dismantled now. That's all you need to say. The food processing thing, that okay, maybe we forgot, maybe we carried the 3 or something, maybe that's why it's the most efficient business on the planet, but bring out the product, show people, let it work in their hands, they'll believe you. Show, don't tell. Anyway, you can't keep a good man down. By October, Mmobousi was posting pictures of new houses he had funded in Malawi for the victims of a cyclone and signing an agreement with a Pakistani state agency for tech development. There are no pictures or news stories about this agreement on the Pakistani agency's website or social media channels, but the houses in Malawi appear to be real. As the African country gave Mmobousi a diplomatic passport for his trouble instead of money. I wonder why he wants a diplomatic passport. Not just a passport, a diplomatic passport.
I hear those things are good for like immunity.
Yeah, I hear diplomatic immunity ringing in my head really big right now. Wonder why that is. Could it be that in December, when the SEC opened civil proceedings in New York against Mmobousi and 3 of his companies for what it described as a massive multi-year scheme to defraud investors worldwide. Its equally long, 70-ish page complaint was damning. For 4 years, it said, Mmobousi had concocted bank statements, invented revenues, and faked customers. For instance, around the time he was trying to buy Sheffield United, he filed documents in the US that said Tingo Mobile had more than $460 million in liquidity in bank in Nigeria. Full-on cash, $460 million. You know how much they actually had?
$42.15.
Oh, you're way off. It was $50.
Oh.
You were off by $7.50. Actually, no,
goodness.
You might have been right because it says less than $50. You might have been right.
I was just taking a shot.
That you took a shot. It was frighteningly accurate. My God. You could have said 10 million, 100 million, 20 grand, but you said $42.50, and you are like within pennies of being accurate on that one. Oh my God. Does that mean we win the company?
Yeah, I think so. That's how that works.
I mean, we should buy Tingo. I feel like if, $50, money down, we can print a bunch of meme t-shirts and make our money back, easily. $20 a piece. Hell yeah. I can knock up a few meme Tingo mobile t-shirts. We can sell those. There's enough people listening to this podcast that a couple of people will buy those shirts.
Dude, yeah, definitely.
I would wear that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to use the Tingo that I keep finding when I look up Tingo, or are we going to use like Tingo, the actual logo from the actual
we're going to buy the company for $50. We're going to do whatever we want. While we're there, why don't we do a package deal? Let's see how much we can get Enron for. So in New York, the value of his listed company had plummeted by $8 billion to just $430 million in a year, a remarkable 94% drop, even given the recent tech rout. I mean, that's not quite Tesla numbers, but that's a fucking big old plummet right there. And they dropped 800 billion. Is it? Yeah, 800 billion in the last 6 months. Anyway, and the report also laid out how he had paid for his lavish lifestyle in London and the deposit for Sheffield United Football Club. Here we go. This is where his money is coming from, okay? Last year, he sold more than $10 million worth of Tingo Group stock and $2 million of stock in another of his companies, AgriFintech. He also allegedly pocketed a $10 million intra-company loan meant for the purchase of handsets, and he also siphoned off an additional $16 million from Tingo Group's accounts to his own. They apparently had enough money to do that. So he sold a bunch of fictitious stock. He's taken out a bunch of loans that he's then given to himself and then stolen from his own company. So,
and are there employee, like, God, there has to be something real here, right?
There were 2 employees that were paid to sit in the office and answer the phone. That's what they did. Those are the employees in the company.
I'm gonna buy that book.
Yeah, I want to buy that because, man, it seems to have worked. In January, the U.S. Attorney Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation charged Mmobousi with 3 counts of fraud that carry prison sentences between 5 and 20 years each, and those will be consecutive as well, so they wouldn't be concurrent, I don't think. Dozy Mmobousi allegedly orchestrated a massive scheme to infiltrate Tingo Group's financial statements and make it appear as though the cellular and agricultural companies he founded were profitable and cash-rich companies when, in fact, they were not, said U.S. District Attorney Damian Williams. With this indictment, Mmobousi's alleged deceitful scheme comes to an end. The media release also described Mmobousi as at large. So it's a good thing he's got that passport. God damn.
He's at large, but he knows where he is.
Yeah, he's in Malawi, certainly. Okay. If you think that suggestion means that he's gone to ground, think again. Mmobousi has given numerous interviews to journalists in Nigeria over the last 10 weeks, telling them that these allegations are unfounded. He's preparing his defense and is still a resident in the UK and cannot be said to be at large. I don't know, mate. I feel like with a diplomatic passport, you can fuck off whenever you want. None of the people he owes money to in the UK has seen him, though, and neither do they expect to. Meanwhile, Sheffield United's owner, Prince Abdullah, is seeking legal advice on whether he might have to return Mmobousi's deposit to the US authorities, as it will be considered the proceeds of crime.
Oh.
So that $10 million never got spent on the club. He didn't pass the, safe owner thing, and the current owner was like, okay, I am not using this money for anything. It's dodgy, potentially dodgy. And that was the smartest thing he could do, is to just sort of leave it there until somebody was like, okay, we need to seize all of his assets, and then hand it over to the authorities. Like, listen, I've not even earned interest. Here you go. Have the interest of it. My God. As for Mmobousi, he is fighting on and writing a book that tells his side of the story. As he told Vanguard last month, the Tingo comeback starts here. Yeah, it starts with us buying Tingo and selling a bunch of shitty t-shirts for $20 a pop. That's where it starts. On a happier note, Sheffield United, who currently sits second in the championship table on goal difference alone, and who seem all but set to earn automatic promotion back to the Premier League once they finish up the last 8 games of this current season, have been sold for £105 million to an American consortium called COH Sports, led by Stephen Rosen and Helmi El-Toki, I think that is. The Rosen-Al-Toki takeover received full clearance from the English Football League, probably because they have more than $50 in their accounts. So
that might be helpful.
That's good. You want to spend 105 million on a club? Have you got that money? You got more than $50. That'll do.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't Ryan Reynolds and
Rob McElhenney?
Yeah.
They bought Wrexham, one of my local clubs. They bought it for a pittance, and they've spent, I think, like $10 million on it. They're currently building a new £5 million stand, which is going to add like an extra 5,000 capacity to the stadium. It's also going to add a bunch of media facilities. It's going to add like a club shop. It's going to add like a bunch of directors' booths, so that like rich people can have their own booth and pay a little bit of extra money. And it also means that the Wrexham Stadium is going to be a 20,000 all-seater, which is great because it means it can host international matches then. So all of the Welsh football won't be just centered around the capital of Cardiff and Swansea and Newport. It can come up north. Again, they've done great things for the community. They've spent money. They've got them back-to-back promotions. So they're now in they've done really good stuff. And it's been so successful that it has inspired, who is that retired American footballer? Brady? I want to say Tom Brady.
Tom Brady?
Yeah, I feel like he's bought like 5%, 10% of Birmingham City Football Club. So it's happening a lot. Yeah. Also, randomly, because they've had a bunch of celebrities show up at games. Like they had Paul Rudd was at the Wrexham game where they got promoted, and he captured like a bunch of footage of Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds cuddling when the final whistle blew, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's finally happened!" And Paul Rudd's there with his camera, like hiding behind a stanchion, going like that. And like they had Will Ferrell there for a couple of games. They had the rest of the Always Sunny. There's a documentary called Welcome to Wrexham that you can watch on Hulu and on Disney Plus in the UK. It is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, especially the first season. It's very much a fish out of water story because you learn a lot about Wrexham, about how it's a working class town, how it was devastated by Thatcher, and how like the town has really struggled. The team had been out of the professional part of the pyramid for 15 years. And then Rob and Ryan come along, and it's the story of them struggling, and you get to meet a bunch of the players. And it's just a really well-made documentary. I think it won an Emmy as well. So if you have access to Hulu Plus, Hulu or Disney Plus, I would recommend watching it. It's a great documentary. There's 3 seasons of it. It gets better as the seasons go on because you learn a lot more about the players and the club, and it's just really fascinating.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, so there are a bunch of American investors who realize that with very small investment, you can make a lot of money. Premier League football is an incredibly... The Premier League is one of the most successful like sporting leagues in the entire world. It's up there with like NFL numbers. It does huge turnover, and a top Premier League club like I said, United or a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a Chelsea or whatever it is, their turnover is crazy. These are teams that have 65,000 all-seater stadiums. They spend $250 million every few years on players, and you know, the money is crazy. So Rob and Ryan did the right thing. They spent a few $1 million, and they've taken a team up 2 tiers already. They've got 2 more to go till they get to the Premier League. And if they can do that with an investment of like $50 million, then the turnover suddenly becomes like $500 million a year. So it's crazy money. So
I wish I understood soccer, football, whatever you want to call it.
It's a difficult business, and it does attract less than perfect people, unsavory people, dodgy business people and stuff, as we've just seen. But it's an interesting business to get into. And also, as a lot of people have found out, getting invested in a club that has ties to a local community, especially if it's a working class community, it's kind of sports washing your reputation. So like, oh my God, you're the dodgiest businessman in the world, but you got involved with this club, you've got involved with the community, you've helped a bunch of people, like their football teams doing well, maybe you've invested in the local community as well. It boosts your reputation. Right. So, and that's what this guy was trying to do. And actually, what I think was going on, because he approached so many different Premier League or Premier League near teams, is he knew that the jig was up, that eventually people were going to find out that his businesses were a scam, allegedly. And he was running out of money, and he thought, right, well, I will just buy a team on the cheap, and I will make plenty of money as a result of that. But the problem is that a lot of people have done this. It's how Wrexham got into the position they were before Rob and Ryan bought it. The fans had to step in and buy that club because the person who owned it before them was asset stripping it. He bought it for a pittance and was selling it off so that he could sell the stadium and turn it into a housing development and just kill the club. No. So that happens a lot too. So I think that's what he was going to do. He was going to asset strip Sheffield United Football Club and just make a bunch of money that way.
Oh, so that would have sucked for that.
It would.
Club.
So that's Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi, who is an interesting fellow. He is not at large, apparently. And
diplomat.
He is a diplomat now. And the last story I could find about him was literally about the sale of Sheffield United Football Club to an actual buyer. And they just mentioned that he kind of fucked it all up. That's the last story. What's that other picture you've got there?
Oh, this is the Tingo that I kept finding.
God.
I want that mascot.
That is... I mean, we'd probably make more money if we bought that, the rights to that instead of Tingo Mobile, but God. So, yeah, what do you make of Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi?
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. I guess I'm disappointed mostly in how easily people can just be like, hey, I've got this money in this business and here's some stuff on paper that looks really cool. And if you're convincing enough and it looks good enough and you can make people want to believe it, you can make them give you money and just keep showing like, hey, all of this stuff's going good and I'm making all this money. Just give me some more of this money and I'll like, what?
I know. You'd think the amount of times that we have had high profile con people and con businesses. I mean, Madoff, Theranos, fucking Enron, all of these companies, all the banking shit, Anna Delvey, all of these people, fucking Fire Festival, all of these different cons that people just readily buy into, when actually just the most entry level basic amount of research will just blow the claims out of the water. It is shocking that these people seem to be able to get away with it for a certain amount of time. The ironic thing is that all of those stories we just mentioned end in disaster for those companies. Like, they get found out, they're fucked up, and you know, it ruins other people's lives. But ultimately, it doesn't work. But it works for a while.
One thing that I've seemed to notice, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Generally, they tend to fail as a business and everything when they're trying to get involved in the stock market and SEC and filings and paperwork. They try to take it to that legit level rather than just running these.
Just keep it private.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
yeah.
There's no business there, but there was some sort of money and revenue coming into those companies, was there not? Or was that all make believe to get to this point?
Well, no, there was definitely some money there, but I couldn't find information on where it had come from. I would imagine it's from contracts that weren't fulfilled, or cons that had come off, and maybe he'd earned some money here and hadn't fulfilled this contract. And because he did that with the fuel thing, you know, he'd a check had bounced for 60 grand's worth of fuel for his factory, but apparently nothing came of that. So I feel like maybe that's a situation he'd found himself in a bunch of times. He'd managed to cobble together enough money through these alleged schemes that he then repurposed into his own account, which, you know, he spent lavishly on, you know, flying up to the Highlands of Scotland and then having someone drive a fucking private car up from London. Is the most insane shit.
Yeah, well, because they don't have cars up there in
Scotland.
They got horses and shit.
It's ponies. Right? It's a mythical land before time.
Unicorns and dragons up there in Scotland. That's all they got.
It's Nessie is the bus service. That's all it is. It's just people riding around on this mythical lizard thing. So if you had to give Dr. Mmobousi a score, what would it be? Fascinating story, by the way. But
yeah. This because he got himself caught by just trying to go too hard.
Yeah.
As they do, I'm gonna go with a 76 because I'm gonna lower it because he's got a diplomatic passport and he's not ever gonna be touched.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those things. We've been doing this so long now that the Elizabeth Holmes thing has kind of come to an end, because when we covered her,
is she out?
She's in prison, but like that's pretty much a definitive end. Like I don't see her conning anyone else after this, or maybe she'll do a documentary, maybe she'll write a book, maybe she'll go legit, but I don't see that story of Theranos developing anymore. I don't think that is ever coming back. But this is still a developing story, very much so, because he's not even been arrested yet for this. He's wanted, but he's not been arrested by the SEC, the FBI. Nobody's been able to get him. Apparently he's in England, but no one's seen him. Apparently he's giving interviews in Nigeria, but I would be surprised if he was outside of Malawi and he just keeps that diplomatic passport for the rest of his life and never gets arrested and just lives. If he's smart, which I don't know if he is, allegedly, he's just going to live out the rest of his days in Malawi doing something probably slightly dodgy. You know?
Hopefully he's got more than $50 in the account. And
yeah,
I mean, I don't know who he defrauded or got the money from, or where the hurt was on this one. It's too high up on the tree for me to.
Yeah, I would imagine it's companies. It'll be like business to business fraud. So he'll have like probably come up with a contract to supply this.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he robbed rich people.
Yeah, which I don't have a problem with. No, we do. Fraud is fraud, and you should not commit fraud. But I don't think this guy is Robin Hood. I think he's
No, he
just
can't
I will take money from anywhere sort of guy.
Yeah. And no, taking money from anybody and doing fraud to people,
Yeah.
it's bad. It's bad. It's
Yeah.
dumb. But it sucks to be tricked, huh?
Yeah, it does. Oh, you out a few $1 million. What a shame. Cry into your pile of money. So that's
I feel bad. I apologize again.
Sorry, defraud. If you are a non-millionaire and this guy defrauded you, we are very sorry for your position, genuinely. However, if you are a millionaire, you didn't do your due diligence into this fucking guy before you did a deal with him. Sucks to be you.
And I've got this business opportunity.
Yeah, we got this business opportunity for you, selling the world's smallest violins that we can play for you. Yeah. So that's Dr. Dozy Mmobuosi, one of the coolest names we've ever covered in this podcast. And also the most alleged of our ongoing podcasts, because this is far from resolved. This could have many, many twists and turns yet. There may be a part 2, given how fucking insane the story has been so far and how out there the potential fraud allegedly has been. So watch this space. If you Google Dozy Mmobousi, there may be some more stories in the next few years, and we will let you know when there are, because I'm interested in this story. A lot of fun researching this one, because the article on the Athletic, and I really recommend you go and read it, was very well written and very well researched, allegedly. So it was just a really fun thing to read about this. It wasn't elaborate at all. This very obvious alleged con. So I loved it.
And I can't tell if it was trying to buy the football club or or buying that one company just to get on the exchange that it was getting on the exchange that got him caught.
It is, yeah. And God, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of certain institutions in the US, but God bless the SEC for this one, because they smelled a rat immediately and shut that shit down. And Dr. Mmobousi, if you are listening to this, God knows if you're a vanity Googler or not, but if you are listening to this and you want to sell Tingo Mobile, or at least, sorry, if you want to sell the merchandise and imaging rights for Tingo Mobile to us, we have $50. And we will give you that $50 for the merchandise, t-shirts, and royalties of Tingo Mobile, because we think we could make a packet of that. Man, we could make at least $200.
Oh, at least
$200.
We could probably make a 600% profit.
Yes, yeah, surprisingly efficient amount of profit from that. That was a good joke, Derek. Well done. That
was terrible.
No, that was a good callback. People like callback jokes.
SEC stuff here, and seeing if it's still going to exist under the cuttings that they're doing. It's a government agency, so I was seeing if there's cuts there too. So
yeah, is there anyone still working there, or has it been replaced with an 18-year-old that can use ChatGPT?
There's AIs running it now. We're good.
We're fine. Yeah, and it's not even the free Chinese AI either. It's that expensive stuff.
Nothing like this will get through with the scaled back SEC.
No, of course not. Yeah. Just like basic researchers will stop this one in its tracks.
Invest in anything like
buy gold. Buy gold now.
Yeah.
Gold and booze.
I feel like with things like the SEC being scaled back and regulations and stuff going away, and new fun things like Robinhood coming to the marketplace where there's retail investors and scams like this existing.
Yeah.
Regular people are going to get hurt more often.
So much. And you just know that there's going to be a scam that comes along that is going to have a very pleasant American twist on it that will be even less sophisticated than this con, and it will con even more people out of money. You watch this space, and Netflix, if that happens, we own the rights to that preemptively. That's gone. So you can pay us. I mean, God, if you're going to spend $320 million on something as shite as the electric state, chuck us, 100 grand for the love of God. If you're going to throw money at that piece of shit film, at least give us some of it. So that's our show for this week. I had a lot of fun doing it this week. I'm glad I could talk to you about this, Derek. Also, I'm not feeling unwell. It makes doing this so much easier when I'm not threatening to vomit everywhere. My God.
Yeah, you got color in.
Yeah. I've eaten food today. I've eaten warm food, so
what's it
I
like
feel
being human?
Oh man, it's so good. I haven't felt the need to scream at God down the big white telephone in the bathroom, not once today, and it's amazing. I stood outside and I could walk in one direction without feeling the need to keel over. Man, it felt good. It felt so good.
Outstanding. I'm glad that you're doing so much better.
Yeah, it'll last about 5 days, if that. So the clock's counting. But I now have a regime of pills that I can just throw into my body, and that seems to work. So we've got it.
Good.
We've got your days are numbered, Crohn's. It only took 5 grams of medication, and that's it. Yeah, there you go.
See, maybe he should have said he was going to cure Crohn's. People might believe that.
I'd have thrown so much money at that dude. I'd have given him everything. I'm going to cure Crohn's disease. Disappears to India and dies of Crohn's related complications. Where's all my crypto gone? Anyway, so that's another inside joke. We should cover that dude because there's something there,
Yes. No, that's
show us the corpse, you cowards.
I thought he just disappeared. I thought it disappeared from the.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that one. That might be coming.
Yeah, we need an exhumation. We should go out to India and track this guy down. The first ever live in-person podcast episode where we hunt this guy down. It's we didn't find him. All of a sudden, both of us are walking away with a couple of $1 million worth of crypto. End of the documentary.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So that's our show for this week. Thank you all so much. And this will be going out a couple of days after my birthday. I'll be turning the big 4-4. That's not a big thing. It's just 2 numbers.
It's 2 numbers that are the same, which is lucky or something.
Yeah. I'm not going to get that for another 11 years. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back again very, very soon with another episode. But until then, Derek, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you all again very soon. Take care now. Bye.